Okay, let's try that again. Thank you everyone who's come back to the podcast. Or if you're just joining again, we did have sound issues, so we're gonna try again because for some reason my sound was very, very choppy. Like I sounded like a motorboat. And I have absolutely no idea why that is. So please let me know how I sound now. If I'm still sounding choppy, then we'll see. I either have to maybe try a different program, because to be honest with you, StreamYard was bought by another company, and since then, not only does everything run slower, I feel like the quality of service is worse, and it's more expensive, which is just insane. All right. Do you know what? I actually don't want to do the Charles and Camilla story. I actually don't. I think I'm gonna remove that from the title, and we'll get to some other things before before our main story. So let's actually. There was an Omid Scobie interview, and I think I will actually touch on that as well. But let's cover a few other things. But yeah, I'm gonna leave the Charles and Camilla story because I really don't. I've been put in a bad mood now, so one thing I don't want to do is talk about Charles and Camilla. Oh, thank you, y'all. You're saying it sounds a lot better. Okay. All right. I think closing all the tabs and fiddling with StreamYard a bit in the background. I think that's what's done it. Okay, so one thing I did want to cover, because I thought this was quite interesting. What is going on with William and Kate's charity? And the amount of money that they have spent on staffing. This is a story that came up. Slide now. I've lost the slide. But the amount of money that they have spent on... Oh, that was... I'm using the new slide deck. And it's a bit more challenging than the last one. So give me a sec. Oh yeah, okay. Well, I tried to find that slide about William and Kate. Martha Stewart did an interview for People magazine, and she very, very briefly mentioned something about being at a dinner with Meghan. Everybody wants to let everybody know that they were at a dinner with Meghan. And she actually said that she got to the dinner last and was the first to leave. She said that she's the type of person, you know, last there, first out. And for some reason, people made a big deal out of this. I think Martha very briefly said that Meghan mentioned her time in England, and then somehow that got turned into a whole thing. I don't know how. I don't even think that Martha Stewart said that they had a whole conversation. I feel like they've really tried to pit Martha Stewart and Meghan against each other. And it's just silly because Martha Stewart, respectfully, very successful, but it's like there's lots of people in this space. Like, give her flowers, but there are other people in this space. So she said, I had dinner with Meghan the other night, and we were both guests at a dinner party in California. And she had just gotten back from the palace. I didn't talk to her really more than to say a couple words, but I know she was talking about it. And she wasn't asked any follow-up questions about the dinner. And the question leading into that reveal was just a basic, do you still go out to parties kind of thing. or she could not wait to spill some tea, or for some reason, the British tabloids have been screaming and throwing up over this very, very small interaction. Hilarious. And Martha didn't claim to have any super insider knowledge of Meghan's conversation, by the way. But Team Sussex clapped back. So, oh wait, no, actually, well, I'm actually not going to say Team Sussex because this is not an official, it's not an official statement. What the article actually says is an insider told the Mirror that Meghan and Martha Stewart did not sit together at the dinner and claimed the Duchess did not speak about the UK visit. They added Meghan was asked by someone else about her European vacation and said it was nice. That was the extent of it. I think she must have been confused. And now that could also just be a leak or something by the Sussex team, but I'm not gonna read that as an official statement just because if it doesn't come out as an official statement, I will just say what it do about nothing. And that's usually what it is, let's be honest, with the tabloids. So we can leave it at that. Now, William and Kate. Interesting story about their staffing and the amount of money that they have spent on their staffing. So let's have a little bit of a read of this. I just realized I've left out my William and Kate slide, so you can look at Meghan while I'm reading this. Great emails from as ever. So Richard Eden's weekly mail column is always a trip. Thank goodness I just don't read it. But this week's column is very interesting. Some weeks he's screaming and crying about Harry and Meghan, and then in other weeks he's spilling some interesting tea about William and Kate. And this is one of those weeks where, for some reason, Maureen, arguably unintentionally, is telling us something rather fascinating about William and Kate. So obviously, if you remember, in 2019, Harry and Meghan disentangled themselves from William and Kate's Royal Foundation and then started their own foundation, which was then shuttered when they left the UK for good. And once the Sussexes left, William and Kate's foundation team began to began this completely one-sided competition over fundraising. And so for years now, the Wells's people have promoted this idea that they're raising more money for their foundation than the Sussexes raised for what is now Archwell Philanthropies, which is technically true. William and Kate have raised more money, but why? Where does it go? Well, apparently it goes towards paying the salaries of 80 staffers. 80 staffers. And what are those 80 staffers even doing? I bet Jason Knopf gets a handsome piece of the pie. William's favorite friend, Jason Knopf. Vanessa, you said Martha is an old mean girl. Do you know what? I feel like that's probably the most she could say without being shady. Exactly. Meghan could have been talking about her time with the kids. And I bet it was the most surface level comment as well. Oh, we had a great time with the kids in England. Like, that's literally it. While the British tabloids obsessed over us. Now, I'm sure she didn't say that. Yeah, I think it was very light shade. Which is just ridiculous. Martha Stewart, you've had your time. As I've been told by several of my American friends, there was actually another black lady who was coming up around the time of Martha Stewart, but just didn't have the platform because it was a very different time back then. And I follow a lot of content creators. Like I said, no shade to Martha Stewart, but, you know, at that time, somebody who looks like her, it was very easy for someone like her to blow up. Other people who may have been better may have not been given the platform. You know what I'm saying? So, like, don't hate on the new kids. respectfully, you've had your time. Anyway, so the monies from the American Friends branch of the foundation, which is a separately controlled entity in 2011, is almost 4 million up from the 4.9 million it handed out in 2024. The generosity of its US supporters, and we're now finding out some other very strange supporters, like people who are linked with Epstein, is so great that it accounts for 44% of the foundation's total reported income of 19.6 million in 2025. And the accounts reported that the foundation retained 10 million of funds as of December 2025 after spending 16 million on its charitable activities. These include Kate's early years program supporting young children, William's crusade to end rough sleeping through his Homewards initiative, and United for Wildlife, a new enterprise launched last year to help tackle the illegal trafficking of animals. Staff costs at the foundation ran 6.4 million as its headcount increased to 80 from 67 in 2024. Why do they need that many people on staff? And what are they doing? You know what? Mind you, this is private donor money. And so if the private donors want to waste their money like this just to get close to William and Kate, so be it. If this was taxpayer money, then I'd be speaking a very different tune. But whoever these people are that want to be wasting their money like this, go right ahead. Again, 80 staffers for a foundation which barely does anything. And they're aggressively fundraising. Pay their foundation staffers salaries. That's insane. And what Eden is trying to do here, or he could just be being underhandedly shady. So he's trying to paint this as William and Kate raise more money than Harry and Meghan. But he's also making William and Kate look rather ridiculous at the same time. Because that much money for 80 staffers for charitable projects that make no impact whatsoever is insane. Grassroots charitable causes do 10 times more with a fraction of that. Anyway, Kate's Baby Brains project and William's End Sleeplessness, homelessness on the streets project. I haven't seen any measurable impact from either of them. And to then know that they're actually getting that much money, wow. SU said, William never comes with a check when he visits charities. No. Because the checks are going to the staffers. That's why they don't even come with a can of beans. They come with a smile and a wave here and there. That's why. Because all of the money is going to the staffers. I feel like we're going to find out so much more when it comes to this Royal Foundation money, because also, remember, we found out that one of the donors, upwards of $1 million, was associated with you-know-who, Jeffrey EpiPen. And they've completely buried that story. They haven't gone anywhere near that story. We haven't heard anything about whether or not, you know, they're gonna consider giving that money back. Shady dealings. And Harry and Meghan's hands are clean, and that irritates them the most. Next thing. Now, Invictus is coming to the UK next year. And it's left to be seen whether or not any of the other royals will go. But really, I think the most important thing is if Charles goes. Charles is head of the army. I think it will look very, very bad if he doesn't go. And I think they're trying to make it seem as if Harry's trying to trap his father into going. It's the right thing for him to go. And actually, when Harry was still in the fold, the royals did go to Invictus. It's just petty. Now we've also heard that Charles met with the kids. He needs to go, whether he likes it or not, mind you. He needs to go. And it's going to be a long year as royalists continue to lose their ever-loving minds over Invictus. I'm also still very suspicious as to whether or not there is some kind of plan to sabotage Invictus in the UK. I'll be keeping a very close eye. I'm sure we all will. Whatever games these people play, because the Centre Barley debacle still isn't sorted. And now you've got some of the rats from the Daily Fail threatening Charles with unpopularity if he dares to show his face at the Birmingham Games. Not the king showing up to support the very troops that he's meant to be the leader of. Will be difficult for Charles. I actually think it'll be very easy. I think it'll be very easy. Just show up. Even if you show up at the opening and don't say anything, just show up. Else actually had their ish together when it came to games. The head of state who it won't look good for is the tabloid writers who want to continue to push a narrative about Charles and Harry. Or actually no, more so about Harry. Like Harry is some permanently exiled prince desperate to come back. Um I mean, Charles is just continues to prove how indecisive he is, and he's torn between a campaign of humiliation, public humiliation for the Sussexes, versus wanting a warm, kind grandfather brand. So he's stuck between. Oh no, I'm going in and out again. Um. Okay, let me try and shut this down. Maybe that will help. Sorry, folks. I had to open another tab, and I don't know if that's what's done it. Don't know if that's what's done it. Thank you, everyone who's just coming in. We are having major, major audio issues for some reason today. Unfortunately, you know, where I am, not the best internet. Um, is it okay now? A lot better. Like I'm not tripping up. Right in the middle of when I was making a great point, mind you. Okay, you can hear more clearly now. Thank you so much. It might be your mic. I don't think it's the mic. I actually think it's a mixture of the internet and StreamYard. I'm gonna try a different streaming service actually, because to be honest with you, I think there's been issues for StreamYard for a while, and I don't know why I just haven't tried. Because I think I've just gotten so used to StreamYard and used it for so long. It's definitely not my mic. It's definitely something wrong with either StreamYard's backend or the internet. But anyway, the point I was trying to make was, I think Charles, between this humiliation ritual that the tabloids want to engage in and him looking like, wanting to look like a warm, kind grandfather. And I think that tug of war was made even worse by the courtiers, people like Clive Alderton. And it's gone on for so long that I feel like they don't. I don't even know if Charles knows how to present anymore. He made the wrong choice by not being more loyal to Harry. I mean, for Harry, the trap is horrific because it involves all of these security issues and whether or not Meghan can safely attend. Benjamin, you said, I'm going to keep it a buck. If I were Harry, I'd go back for Birmingham, of course, and also make sure my kids are taken care of. If I'm not, I believe his grandfather left him something anyway. Or you think, oh, sorry, I believe his grandmother left him something anyway. I mean, if the Queen did leave Harry something, do you think that, I believe the palace would have probably tried to stop him from getting it. I think. Maybe that's another reason they're so obsessed with the money. Maybe it's projection because they know that the Queen left him something. Who knows? Electra, you said Charles has his own mind and is a petty. You know what? He doesn't like or love Harry at all. I mean, all of his actions have shown that. But am I the fly on the wall? No. I'm not the fly on the wall. Okay. Was there anything else that I wanted to cover? No. I'm so sorry that we did have audio issues. I'm gonna keep this podcast short and sweet. I'm gonna come back later on and hopefully we can have a much nicer podcast with much more interesting news. We're gonna talk about Cookie Queens. And I'm gonna actually listen back to this podcast and see if I can improve on the audio. But thank you so much for bearing with me, folks. And yes, please do come back for the next podcast. I think it'll be a lot nicer. We'll have much more interesting things to talk about. Cookie Queens is getting such good reviews. I think it could be a contender for an Oscars. I really do think it could be. You know, the whole Cookie Scouts, Girl Scouts, it's a very all American thing. I feel like it's a type of documentary that it's a very safe documentary. It's a very feel good documentary. I think it's the type of thing that could definitely get an Oscar, but we'll talk about that later. Please do come back. Love y'all. Ciao.